How are you guys doing? This is Martin from Gardens for Life and Birdland Homestead. So we have our 15th weekly questions and answers session on today. And today is a special day. We're going to give away a voucher for our website for €50. And if you like to enter, now this only goes for those of you who are here during the live stream, not afterwards, if you are watching this afterwards. So if you'd like to enter our giveaway, you can simply put the word enter into the comments or into the chat. All capital letters, please. Now, if you guys have any questions for me, please let me know. We'll just hang on in there now, just for people to join our live stream now. I'm just going to open up Okay, I'm going to show you some pictures today, and I'm going to just talk about them. So in the last week and a half, actually, I've been setting up and planting up the new garden as well. And the other garden from last month, that's a no-dig garden as well. It's definitely getting greener and greener. It's actually filling in nicely, and it's going to be a canopy soon enough now. We won't be able to see any compost anymore, and that's good. If you're making the most of all of the sunlight, and you're trying to cover the ground so that weed seeds don't have it as easy to germinate. So please let me know if you have any questions. You can ask me on the comments or on the chat. Oh. We'll just wait for people to join for a minute, and then we'll get started. So I did have a question here about mushroom spawn, and the way we actually grow it is basically it's winecap or King Stropharia, which is just edible mushroom. It's a culinary mushroom, and it's really nice actually. It tastes a bit like steak, a bit like beef, and you can grow it. It's the easiest one to grow in the garden without having to do logs. We are not very successful at growing mushrooms in logs, except for turkey tail, but that occurs wild here anyway, in the forest on any kind of dead wood. We tried shiitake logs, and it didn't work. I think the logs dried out, so we need to try the Sepp Holzer method again, whereby we simply bury the log a third of the way in the ground, just so that it keeps it kind of wet and it doesn't dry out, even though we put it in the shade. We also tried lion's mane mushroom logs as well, and it didn't work. But for those of you who want to try it this summer, the ideal temperature is about 20 degrees actually for most of them, and you can just make sure you keep watering the wood and make sure the wood is not too old, as fresh as possible, maximum a month old. And you can check our website if you want to. Just type in mushroom logs into our website, and you can you'll find some pictures about it. Here's our website, gardenforlife.ie, and geez, I think that must have been about 6 years ago now that I did that article on mushroom logs. But we grow winecap or King Stropharia in the garden, especially on the paths as well. It's just another yield from the garden, and why not use the paths for something productive, like mushrooms, for example. So we simply mixed some of the spawn that you can buy into fresh wood chips, and just make sure it doesn't dry out, and it should grow from there as long as it's warm enough. Usually in the summertime now in Ireland anyway, you'd expect you'd probably be okay in May. I'd say from May onwards you can probably inoculate your wood chips in your garden, and especially if you're doing back to Eden gardens or lasagna gardens where you cover the entire garden with a good thick layer now of wood chips, you could add some King Stropharia or winecap mushroom spores as well, or spawn, and you can probably get your first harvest next year. It usually takes about a year to take off, and then you get several flushes of harvests per year. Every time it's warm and it rains, that's when you'd usually get it. If there's no rain for a week, and you get a rain, and that's when they all pop up. Now, let me see here. If any of you guys have any questions for me, please let me know in the comments or in the chat. So we're going to do our giveaway a little bit later today, and I'm going to show you some pictures actually. Let me see here. I'm going to just change over to this here. Hang on. So I had been walking around the garden with the camera, and I was taking some odd shaped pictures, square pictures actually, just for Instagram and for that kind of purpose. So then I went through the garden just taking pictures of things, and this is, for example, some black currants, and they're starting to ripen now. Now, some of the pictures may be duplicate, but you can see here that was the sun going down at like probably 10:30 at night in our garden. I'd be still out there, especially on a summer evening, and you can see here there's blackcurrant plants, and some we have white currants, and we have some leeks as well, orphrey. Those are some curly willow seedlings. This is the orphrey. It's actually a leek, but it's bulbous, so you can eat the bulb and propagate it from the bulb. You don't have to ever buy seeds for it. So orphrey is a Belgian vegetable, actually. They eat it there fairly commonly. And we discovered it actually through a fella called Jason's Jungle in the UK some years ago, and he made a video about it. So little plug for you, Jason, in case you're watching. Can anyone here guess what kind of plant that is? It is not a nettle. It's actually a giant, a certain variety of cat mint, actually. And that's actually self-seeding now this year for the first time. We had that garden, it's in there since about June last year, just about midsummer last year, and everything in this garden is now flourishing. This is the chocolate marshmallow elder. Huge leaves on this one, and it's a lovely plant. These are actually here, these ones. That is a aronia berry, and they also make wine from those in Spain a lot. I did see those for sale. Aronia berry wine is actually commonly enough available in German shops anyway. And this is our little woodchip island, and it's like a little bit of a forest garden. There is some fruit trees in there, but mostly fruit trees from Lidl and Aldi. They weren't very good, I have to admit. Unfortunately, some plum trees and apple trees, they grew fine. The pear trees did not. And they're basically never flowering much. Like, we get very few apples from them, and almost no plums at all. But I have a feeling that maybe this year is the year of plums. We have like probably about 7 or 8 plum trees in the different gardens, and I definitely saw some green plums as well already. So this is the first year now we didn't have a late frost as well, so we were lucky that the blossoms weren't frozen and thawed by the sun in the morning. That'll burst them. So I have this wire here. See this wire? You might be able to see it here. All around, just to stop the dogs from walking into a new area. That's a pear tree. There's a dog. One of our dogs. She always does funny pictures. This is a lupin. I was going to ask you what plant do you think that is, but I've kind of given it away now at this stage. Well, that's a early lupin flower stalk. Look, that's what it turns into. And they're about a meter tall or 3 feet. They're lovely. And that plant survived for several years now. I think 4 years old, going into the 4th season. Those are rhubarb seeds, and we'll probably have more of those. They're valerian. It's very good flower. It's very good to make a tincture out of, and then you can use it to help you sleep. But it's not to what's it called? A tonic herb. You couldn't take it every day. Same as echinacea. Again, a few duplicates here in these pictures, but I did want to go through them. But look, we have a few weeds growing here in this area, and but these, can anyone guess what these are? Some of you probably have seen the videos. So it's not corn, although it's the same size as corn. That's about a meter and a bit tall. And it's not a leek, so it's actually, but it is related to the leek. It's the elephant garlic. And so we've taken all the scapes off the top. You see that? There's no scapes, no more scapes. And so that means the plant is finished flowering as soon as the scape is gone. That's the early flower head. And you can, if you let it go to seed, it's probably going to use all its energy in the bulb. So you're better off to, if you want to harvest the bulb, you probably want to cut the scape and eat it. But what a wonderful plant. Those have been there for 3 years now. And some of these plants here are 3 years old and some are 2 years old. So there is, you definitely get a bigger yield, but not quite as much as if you had picked them apart and planted them separately year after year. So, but still, for a perennial garden, it's sound. I haven't had to do any work at all except for pulling a few weeds in between. But the elephant garlic keeps growing, and it definitely holds its own in the garden. It competes with the weeds as well. So it's not quite as good for smothering the weeds like the Jerusalem artichoke, but it's not too bad. Those are willows in the background, more aronia berry too. This is a great mullein. You can see it has a lot of mildew on the leaves, unfortunately, but the flowers, nevertheless, it's flowering and there is insects on it. And you can see the willows in the background too. They're getting very tall now. They're growing nearly a foot a week, actually. The willows have always been our best seller. And these are rhubarb seeds. Look how many seeds you get from one plant. And I've always been told not to be pulling at to always pull the flower stalks, or the flower stalk on the rhubarb plant. People used to always go, "Geez, you'll have no yield for the year. You know, you'll get no stalks if you let it go to flower." Well, actually, in our garden, not all the plants go to flower and make seeds, all the rhubarb ones, every year. Some of them do, maybe a third of them, and the other ones might go to seed next year. But we always have some rhubarb, so we just let them go to seed and let the insects have a little a snack, I guess. Actually, quite a lot. There is a lot of insects probably doing very well because of the rhubarb flowers during that time of year. It's early spring anyway. And then we get a huge yield of seeds as well. So I just took a lot of the seeds and planted them, just sprinkled them over a garden bed, a no-dig garden bed, a brand new one actually. And let's see if those grow. So that'll be interesting to see. And in the background, you can see those are not nettles. That's actually motherwort. Who knows what that is? That is comfrey. Again, if you guys have any questions for me during this little presentation here, please write those into the comments or into the chat, and I'll answer them as soon as I'm done showing you pictures here. It'll only be another minute. This is comfrey. Again, it was very hard to take a picture that day because it was, especially with macro mode, because it was windy. But comfrey is really good for the insects, and I actually made a video about it recently. I had never made a video about comfrey for all these years. I've been making videos for Gardens for Life for 7 years now, imagine that. And almost 7 years in August now. And comfrey was actually not on the list. I've always talked about it, but never made a video about it specifically. And I was showing in the video how to cut up the roots and how to separate the crown and plant more. So to get more plants, and how to divide the plant so that you can get lots of little plants then. And you can still do it even now, and they are still available on our website if you'd like to get some. These are rhubarb seeds. They're not ripe yet, so they'll actually go brown and dry, and then they fall off all by themselves. Probably the best way to catch them is actually to put a cloth or some kind of something underneath to catch them. But the leaves are quite good at that too. This is a Jacob's ladder. Oh, sorry. This plant here is Jacob's ladder. There's comfrey again. This is the wood chip island, so I've actually cleaned up the paths now. They're fairly nice, and I'm going to put some fresh wood chips on them. Might actually do a bit of that tomorrow. We're supposed to be getting some rain tomorrow. These are Jerusalem artichokes, so that's a tuberous sunflower, and they're growing very tall now. Some of the varieties are actually taller than I am now, so maybe 2 meters, and or what's that, 6 feet, 6 or 7 feet tall. That's, who knows what that is? It's motherwort. Again, that's the wood chip island. It's been very little work to weed that entire area. It's a garden of about 600 square meters, and it has definitely been worth turning it into a perennial garden or a forest garden, because we've covered it with a layer of wood chips from the very beginning. So we put down cardboard. And there is videos about how we actually made that wood chip island garden. We put down 6 inches of compost on top of the cardboard, and then 6 inches of Leylandii wood chips, as it happens. Any kind of wood chips are fine, but these happen to be Leylandii, and they lasted for 3 years. Now it's year 4. This is 4 years later now, and the wood chips have completely broken down on the ground. So I do need to replace them. I need to put some more on top, basically. The garden, the soil has eaten all of the wood chips. So this is a paulownia tree. Bianca, if you're watching this, look at that. Isn't that magnificent? Bianca, my wife, actually grew these from seed. And Bianca, we should grow some more. I tried to start a few, but we need to try again. Always good to do a couple of batches of paulownia. This is a foxglove tree, and it has these huge exotic leaves. It's beautiful. It's gonna be interesting to see how big this tree will grow this year. Tuberous peas. That's the paulownia tree. They grow it for firewood actually in northern Spain. For those of you who have just joined, I'm just showing some pictures. That's a nettle. Just showing some pictures real quick of the garden, and I'm just talking about it. And that's more red currant or black currant, actually. Those are oca plants, and just them planted. That's the new pile of compost. It's very brown. It has actually gone darker since I've taken these pictures. And in 3 months, when it's ready to use, it's going to be much darker. At least 2 months I'm going to leave it anyway, but I'd leave it probably longer than that. That's some of the new garden. That's actually not quite finished here yet in this picture, but I'm just planting things here. That's the willow hedge. And those plants are 2 years old. The willow plants, that is, the trees. These ones here have only been planted last month, so in May, and I have finished that garden. It's completely full. Geez, the lettuce is really good when it's completely fresh, when you're eating it straight off the plant. It's really nice lettuce. Any kind of variety at all, as long as it's fresh. The supermarkets can never compete with what they're selling in terms of food, simply because it's not fresh. When you get it in your own garden, it's completely fresh. You have to eat it ideally within 10 minutes, but I'm sure even on the same day would make an awful difference. That's the new garden, and that's starting to fill in now. All these plants here are going to completely fill in the entire garden. And that's one of our dogs. So cute. And that's the 2 of them. Yeah, Nina and Levi. All right, that's all the pictures. Now, thank you guys for joining. I just was going to show you some of those pictures that I took in the garden the other day. I might do that again, actually. I just take those pictures in a square format for Instagram specifically, and I just want to take some pictures, not just video. It's important, actually. I know you can take screenshots off videos, but it's not the same. Some of you guys will know taking a picture is something that's kind of permanent. Video is permanent too, as long as you have a backup, and we sure do. I'm going to take pictures of all the gardens. Actually, just walk around with the camera and just take 100 pictures, and just to document what it looks like during a certain period of the year, or even once a year, maybe, just to show progress. So how are you guys doing? I'm just looking at the comments here now. There has been a good few comments already. So if you guys want to enter to win a €50 voucher, completely free to enter, you can just write the word enter in all capital letters. You can win a €50 voucher for our online shop. All you have to do is type in the word enter during the live stream while we're doing this now. Don't be looking to enter in the video that you might have watched after. For those of you who are watching this afterwards, sorry, it's too late. You need to be there on time, and it's always going to be 9 o'clock, usually 9 to 10 roughly. We usually go for about an hour. And how are you doing, Vanessa and Mike? We haven't called over to you yet to bring you your prizes from the last seed and plant swap, but we will get there. You're going to get your birdhouse and a rake. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. You can ask me any questions you might have, and I'll try to get to them. We also have a bunch of workshops coming up, including seed saving, actually, is another workshop that's coming up now. So we're actually going to teach you everything you need to know about saving seeds, storing seeds, starting seeds up, as in germinating them. So yeah, that's one other course that we're going to be hosting. It's actually more of a workshop. It's going to be about one of many, and we also have other workshops too. So if you'd like to have a look at that, please feel free to go to our website. Just a quick plug for our upcoming events for those of you watching this live or shortly after. Let me see now. So again, if you want to enter the giveaway during our live stream, you can win a €50 voucher. And I have a program here, a website actually, that will randomly pick a comment. As long as you put in the word enter, just write enter in all capital letters to enter the giveaway. It's completely free, and it's a €50 voucher for our online shop. Here's our online shop. Just a link there, gardensforlife.ie/shop. For those of you on the audio, we are currently streaming live, as in video, to Facebook, and for those of you still over there, and our Gardens for Life YouTube channel, the Birdland Homestead YouTube channel, and Twitter. Sorry, X, formerly known as Twitter, as they say. Now, let me take a look at some of these comments here. See if I can... thank you for all the questions. That's awesome. I was kind of out of questions last time, and if you guys come up with questions during the week, just email those to us. Just contact at gardensforlife.ie. Sorry, I can't lean onto the table here because that shakes the camera a little bit. So let me take a look here now. I'll try and let me take a look now to see if I have any questions. What am I harvesting at the moment, Marie's asking. So that's a good question. I'm actually planting. I'm planting every single day. It could be all kinds of different vegetables, but also some perennials, some annual, like the lettuce, or some tuberous vegetables as well that grow all the way until the end of the season, like mashua, oca, yacon. I'm planting all those frost tender plants out now in June, and I've just readied the other garden. So I've doubled the garden. For those of you who have watched the 7-part video series, there's a playlist on our YouTube channel. You can watch how to make a no-dig garden, or starting a no-dig garden, it's called, and you can see what I've done last month. And this month I've already made another garden the same size just onto it, and I've planted it up. So I've planted a good few kale cuttings as well, some of the perennial kales, and I'm starting lots of plants as well from seed while we can. We're lucky enough now the summer is not too hot. Well, actually, we would like it to be a little hotter because we have the swimming pool set up out the back now. And of course, we're looking forward to making use of it during this so-called heat wave next week. It was supposed to be 26, 27 degrees next week. That's what Meta Aaron said yesterday. And windy.com also said that too. But today I checked it again. And of course, today is Thursday. So just Monday, Sunday, Monday, they've already changed the entire weather forecast. So now it's going to be only 20 degrees, which is good for not having to water the plants in the greenhouse too much, because we've only got seedlings in the greenhouse, and not even seedlings, trays with seeds in them and compost, just to keep them warm to get them started. Really, there's no other reason to have any kind of plants in the greenhouse, even temporarily. If they're in pots, I would remove them. And we do have a few plants in the ground in the greenhouse, and we're going to have figs and grapes, lots and lots of grapes, plenty of figs. I think we're going to have probably maybe 10 figs off each tree, and we have about 5 or 6, maybe 10 trees or something like that, fig trees, 4 different varieties. Here's another question. Sean is asking, can you grow sweet potatoes in Ireland? We haven't tried, but people have done it. You can grow them in a polytunnel. You're probably best off. I know that people in Florida can just grow them outdoors. I don't think we can. I think they're very frost tender also. So sweet potato is nice actually, but we just haven't. I just didn't get around to it, to be honest. People often ask me, especially people like the neighbors or people just coming to visit sometimes, would ask me if I'm growing potatoes, and I say to them, I haven't really bothered. I do have some potatoes in the ground from previous years, but not this year. I haven't planted any potatoes specifically, mainly because planting space is so valuable. I've got 1.5 acres of gardens, but the space, once I have a space established, like putting down the no-dig garden beds or grow spaces, I'm basically planting all kinds of different things, like rhubarb, all different herbaceous perennials like valerian, echinacea, feverfew, all the perennial kales, all the tuberous vegetables other than potato. And I don't really have the space for potatoes. Sorry, I do like to eat them. We do eat them here, but we'll keep expanding. We keep expanding the garden next year. Next year is another year. I do have a few chitted potatoes though that could go in the ground now, and why not? I'd say 90 days between now. What's that? Yeah, between now and the end of September, is it? Or something like that? Or am I a month off? So let's see if there's another question here. Let me go back up here for a second. Again, if you want to ask me a question in the comments or in the chat, please do write the word question in front in all capital letters, just so I know that the question is directed towards me. And then, so just type out the word question in all capital letters and then ask your question in the chat. Anything about gardening, you know yourself, if you've seen my videos, you'll know what I'm all about. You can ask me about homesteading, business, or how to start a business, or whatever. You can also ask about home brewing, like wine making, egg production, or chicken keeping, all that kind of stuff. You can even ask me about rabbits if you like. We have rabbits, and we're just keeping them because we like them. No, give me a second now. Sean is saying here, what do you think of the natural restoration law? I'm afraid I don't know about that. We are of the belief here at Gardens for Life that we are always building biodiversity, and that's why we don't have to spray anything at all. People often ask us, again, some of you will have heard this before, but oftentimes people ask us, are you organic? Are you an organic grower? And I say to them that we don't even spray what organic growers are allowed to spray. So I just couldn't be bothered. I just let nature take care of it by building more and more biodiversity. It is an investment, and it's indirect. You have an indirect kind of a grip on nature in that little geographic area that is your garden, and you're basically just investing in years to come by building biodiversity. And of course, with that comes a lot of fertility in the garden, and and usually you don't get any kind of pest issues at all that are known. Now, let me see here. Celine is asking, can you plant oca in containers, and what size container would be big enough? I have grown oca in containers, and I have a video about it back years ago. And oca does very well in containers. I use 12-liter buckets. You can also use any size, really. The bigger, the better. 15 or 20 liters would be even better. And you can just fill them with pure compost, not potting compost, or, you know, not the stuff you buy in a shop, really. You'd want a good quality compost anyway, like 3 to 6 month old mushroom compost, or even older. A year is better. And to grow, if you're looking to get more yield or a healthier plant, when you're potting up any kind of plant at all, you can add some seaweed dust and some volcanic rock dust into your wheelbarrow and mix it through the compost, then put the compost in your pots and then plant your vegetable. Oca is really easy to grow. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's just related to the wood sorrel, and it is a tuberous version of it. It's an oxalis, and it's a really nice tuber. You can also get rid of some of the oxalic acid by just curing them, same as Jerusalem artichokes or yacons for that matter. And we found oca it loves pots, actually. I actually prefer growing it in pots because you get more yield. But the problem is they might dry out much easier. So you might have to water them in this weather if it's not raining. If you're in Ireland and it's not raining for a week, if you're lucky, but you might have to water them. Just be ready for that. Any plant in a container, generally speaking, needs quite a bit of water. But the Jerusalem artichoke does okay. It does quite well in pots. If you have to grow it in pots, you can, but it drinks water in the summer. You can't even keep up watering it. I have given up personally on growing Jerusalem artichokes in pots, or in buckets even, or even in crates as well. Any kind of container, really, simply because it's just so much easier to grow them in the ground, and that's where I have planted them years ago, and they're still growing and growing, and I'm just harvesting. I don't have to do anything really. I might top up the compost on top of the Jerusalem artichoke beds though, in next winter. Sean's asking, what do I think about veganic farming? I don't know about that. But I do know about agroforestry. For agroforestry is great. Martin Crawford is one of the leading experts. I guess he planted a 2-acre forest garden in Devon in southern England, and Martin Crawford is excellent. He hasn't got many YouTube videos, but there is a few of them of a tour of showing his garden. And he has like Sichuan pepper trees, and it's amazing. We have one, actually. We have one of those. I got the seeds, some time ago. There is a lot of people practicing agroforestry successfully. Mark Shepard is another one, and I think he's in Wisconsin, and he has about 120 or 30 acres, and he did the yeoman keyline plowing. He did swales, on contour swales as well, and he planted a lot of trees on his land. And it was degraded land, and now it's just lush. And he planted thousands of trees, including sweet chestnut, and that's one of the main ones, and hazelnuts and cob nuts. And he developed his own varieties too. And unfortunately, we can't grow sweet chestnuts here in Ireland. Not in this part of Ireland anyway, where we live, closer towards the west. Not sure. Does anyone here know? Have you seen sweet chestnut trees actually producing a decent size chestnut in Ireland? I wonder if anyone has seen them. Please let me know in the comments. But agroforestry is excellent. Let me see here now. So let me see here. So I have let's see here. David says here on YouTube, Hi Martin, I'm buying a 1 acre site. Congratulations on that. Heavy clay. It's heavy clay, very overgrown right now. I'm thinking of cutting the grass back, covering it with a tarp, and then planting it. Planting sunflower and daikon radish. Very good, Jed. You could do that, yeah, for a cover crop or just to establish it, build fertility. Any other things you'd recommend preparing the ground for next year? Yes, I would. I have. That's the thing that we've been trying to research on. I've been expanding the garden bit by bit every year. I've basically been doubling garden space for the first 5 years until last year, and this year now we're just adding on another probably about 500 square meters in total. So that's an 1/8 of an acre. Every year I've been adding on, and I would suggest you don't have to cut the grass in order. I would just flatten it and then tarp it, because when you cut it, you're reinvigorating its growth. It's better to, and it'll just take less time to smother the grasses by covering them before, without cutting them altogether. Just flatten them. I'd go through there with a roller if you can get one, like, you know, a roller like for a lawn, I guess. I think that's what people use them for. And you could just flatten all the grasses there rather than cutting them, and then just tarp them after that. You can also add, instead of doing the cover crops, although cover crops are grand, you could get mushroom compost if you're based in Ireland. I assume you are. In Ireland, that is a available resource, and it's an underutilized resource at that. You can buy 15 tons of mushroom compost for as little as 50 quid if you pick it up yourself. But if you need transport, it's going to be probably another 200 euro for a truckload. And you can leave that on site as long as you can get into the site. If you have good access and the driver doesn't get stuck either with the truck or with a tractor, you're best to get that mushroom compost delivered during the summer, just because the ground is not wet and they won't get stuck. Ask me how I know. And it was not the first. It wasn't only once that they got stuck, and usually they end up having to dump the compost somewhere where it's not wanted, and then we'll just deal with it. I say, okay, we're going to have a garden there then. So that's the way I look at it. It's okay. Again, get the mushroom compost while you can during the summer, because you never know. It could start raining for 8 months like it did last year. In July, it started raining. I couldn't get anything delivered at all. It was all muck in the field, and I couldn't get even a tractor to get in with a big trailer, because he would have just ended up getting stuck and dumping it somewhere where I don't want it, which is exactly what happened in December last year. So yeah, I would build fertility simply by smothering the grass, same as I have been doing. You can also use cardboard, large sheets of brown cardboard from any furniture place or bicycle shop, and you can cover the ground with those. You'll cover quite a big area with a van load of big sheets of cardboard. You can definitely make good progress. I've developed, we have an acre here with the house and another acre and a bit, and it's probably about an acre and a half of gardens, maybe a little less than that, but there is some mature trees in the area or all around the site. I've been using every bit of space that I can on this site here and on the next one. David, you need to look up a fella called Michael Pilarski on YouTube, and he has some videos. If you type in forest garden, Michael Pilarski forest garden, type that into YouTube and see if you can find it. There is one, maybe even you add the number 25, because he has a video showing a 25-year-old forest garden, a 2-acre one, the same size as Martin Crawford's in southern England. But Michael Pilarski is based in Washington State in the US, I believe, in the mountains, and he has lots of little gardens like that, up to an acre, and except for this one. This one is 2 acres, but most of his gardens are 1 acre, half an acre, 3/4 of an acre, and he has a few of them around the place. I guess wherever he could get land, maybe he bought them and then developed them. And definitely turn them into valuable resources. He just basically grows a forest garden. In the first year, he might throw in some annuals for like vegetables, for example, any kind of vegetables really. Food crops, so you have medicinal crops. That's what he does. He grows medicinal herbs commercially and sells them. He dries them and he sells them to herbalists. So he has a few different businesses like that. So Michael Pilarski is well worth looking up, because that's what he does. Restoration, what's it called? The ecosystem. I think that's one of his terms anyway. And by the way, Mark Shepard's book is called Restoration Agriculture. That's big scale. So people sometimes ask me, what would you do? I just bought 30 acres or 50 acres or even 100 acres. What would you do? I tell them flat out, I tell them straight up, I have no idea. I have only been dealing with up to 2 acres so far, and we will be upgrading at some point. We're going to be buying land in the next couple of years, and we're going to do another project, and we'll see what we can do, and we'll sure let you know by making videos about it. So let me see here. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. And if you'd like to enter today's raffle, or not raffle, it's not a raffle, it's a giveaway, just type the word enter in all capital letters on the chat on whatever platform you're watching this. You can type it in the comments or on the chat. I believe it'll come up either way. And it's for a €50 voucher for our online shop, which is this one, guidance4life.ie/shop, for those of you on the audio only. So please let me know if you have any questions. I can't believe we've already been going for 42 minutes. Oh, no problem, David. No problem at all. Let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. Let me see here. Yeah, David, if you have any questions, just email me, contact@gardensforlife.ie, and I don't mind. I'll answer any questions you have. Because I think people establishing gardens is really important, and it's actually a great way of it's a great entry way into the good life, because literally there was a TV series from the 1970s called The Good Life, and you could look it up, and it's all about this fella that's going just basically living off the land instead of doing a job in London. And it's funny, it's good, it's a comedy. But what we're planning on doing is we'd like to build biodiversity. We'd like to build living capital on our land. Basically plant all of the different plants, all the flowers, all the herbaceous perennials, all the shrubs, all the berries, the perennial vegetables, some annuals in there, of course, why not? Especially while you have space in the first year, while your perennial plants are still in establishment and they're only small, especially like fruit trees, apple trees, plum trees, plums, mirabelles, all those kind of basically top fruit, all of the fruit bushes, even the rhubarb. Although in our gardens it doesn't take long for rhubarb to establish itself, you can start harvesting it in the second year and it's going to be huge. All you have to do is dump about 4 or 5 or 6 inches of compost. For those of you in centimeters, 10 to 15 centimeters of compost, and that's plenty for any plant. And you can still top it up after a while anyway, but if you have access to bulk compost, that's excellent. David, I assume you're not in the Midlands of Ireland. If you are, send me an email and I'll give you a phone number for a guy that delivers compost. No, let me see here. Again, building, like basically a garden can solve the world's problems. That's what Jeff Lawton said. And you might think, sure, not everyone can have a garden. Well, I think it's a matter of circumstances, and maybe some people need to change their circumstances, and they got to start living their life and taking control of it. Like Dr. Phil says, you got to take control of your life. So if you have an acre with your property, that's good. Like if you're able to, if you don't have an acre, that's not a problem, but a tenth of an acre, you can still grow an awful lot of food. And you can just use it as a learning curve. And after that, you can maybe upgrade to another place, or maybe you can get a garden outside the town and start from there. You know, so I reckon if you grow a garden and you keep developing it, you keep driving on that ecosystem, and every year you add on a few plants and an old load of compost there and a load of wood chips, and you can keep doing it bit by bit. You don't have to worry about how am I going to do a whole acre all at once. And not necessarily specifically you now, David, but I'm talking about an acre because most houses in Ireland are for sale with an acre, even half an acre. It's an awful lot of ground. I found just myself now maintaining an acre and a half of gardens is quite the job, as you can imagine. But I'm going to use wood chips. I'm going to employ wood chips to smother the weeds and to basically stop wind-blown seeds, weed seeds, from germinating as well. They will break down eventually, the wood chips, but it's going to slow down the weeds by 2 or 3 years. Like I say to people, you cannot slow down. You can't stop nature. You can't just you can't stop the weeds from growing on a piece of land. All you can do is slow it down indefinitely. You can't stop it indefinitely. So the best way to slow down the weeds, or whatever nature wants to grow there, volunteer plants, is to smother the grasses, or the existing vegetation, as I call it. And you can employ various different technologies to do so. Like I said, cardboard, black tarps. You can use greenhouse plastic too, the clear stuff that apparently works too, to solarize the weeds. And you can also use poultry. You can use animal impact as well. So I don't know about sheep. I'm sure sheep could work too, to take down the weeds and to basically weaken them, I guess, before you cover them. But I've used poultry as well. Chickens are perfect for that. On a smaller scale, you can do that and tractor them, and then you keep moving their electric fence and coop, so that you give them a fresh piece of ground as well. And they'll fertilize the ground, and they'll impact the grass. They'll eat it and scratch it up. So, and probably remove some of the pests, the potential pests anyway, from that piece of land. Again, David, you could actually look into getting an electric fence and look up chicken tractor, either on our website or look up Jeff Lawton, I guess. He would be, I guess, the kind of the fella that made it famous anyway, the chicken tractor. A little mobile chicken coop, throw in maybe 5 to 10 chickens if you're only starting off, and a 50-meter electric fence, and that's it. During the growing season, they're going to do very well on that piece of ground, and they're going to take down the grass. And during the winter time, they'll probably, after 2 months, they'll probably get rid of all of the grasses, and then you can just dump your compost on directly, because they will have eaten the grasses so much that they won't come back, and they won't be able to grow through the layer. But you probably still can combine that method of using poultry at first with cardboard as well. I like to put the chickens on, let them do their thing, and then even if they're not quite done yet, they could stay on for longer, I move the chickens on and put down 1 layer of cardboard, and that's fine. So let me see here. What about goats? Yeah, no, you could use goats. I just heard a lot of people that goats keep escaping and they end up all over the place, eating everything, and also ending up on people's cars, apparently. They can jump. How does a goat jump that high? I guess on the bonnet first. But I imagine it must leave some tracks, some marks. So let me see here. Celine is asking a question. I'm in the process of buying a house, and there's quite a few trees at the end of the garden. I'd like to start a forest garden, but I think the density of the trees is on the high side. And I'm not sure I can afford to have many of them cut. It is expensive to get trees cut professionally, definitely. Because they take them down bit by bit, especially if there's any danger of hitting a tree or a house nearby, any kind of structure. Hello there, how are you doing? Somebody from Alaska has joined. Thank you for joining us here. We're going to finish up soon, though, unfortunately. So if you guys have any quick questions towards the end here, please let us know in the chat. And also, please enter our giveaway. If just type in the word enter, all capital letters. So let me see here, just to get back to Celine's question. What perennials would you recommend planting in a lot of shade? I'm interested in edible and medicinal plants. So there is an awful lot of plants you can grow in shade, but it's mostly dappled daylight. So basically, not evergreens anyway. They would cast too much of a shade. There's not much you can grow under a good thicket of evergreens, other than mushrooms, I guess. They don't need light to grow. We do have some ground elder growing in our little forest here, but it grows everywhere and it's too successful, so I wouldn't recommend that. So the first question I have for you, Celine, is actually is it south facing or is it blocking the sun? If it's blocking the sun to your garden, to your property, if those trees are on the south side or southwest side of your property, I would really think about getting those trimmed, or at least maybe deal with them later and don't bother planting too much in that particular area, because anything you plant in shade is going to be leafy greens, so you can grow all your greens in shade, not complete shade maybe, but like kind of at least on the north side of trees, and they'll do fine. But it's just that anything that produces sugar, especially flowers or berries or fruit, needs as much sunlight as possible. They can do okay, like currants. The only reason why currants can what's the word for it? Can live in a forest, I guess, and can do quite well there, especially at the edge of the forest edge, is because they leaf out early in the year before all the big trees do, all the deciduous ones anyway, and they take a lot of the sunlight well in advance. But funny enough, they actually fruit during times of shade, basically, when the other trees have leafed out. So mainly leafy greens, really. I would try to keep the garden, if it's on the north side, it doesn't matter. There is no problem. We kept all of the trees on our properties because we like to have the shelter. We appreciate the trees shelter more than we would have in terms of the sunlight. They're not really blocking the sunlight too much where we are, and we are basically surrounded on our acre with mature trees, a mixed variety of trees. They are on the south side, okay. Yeah, so it depends on how much land you have. If you have plenty of room, if you have an acre, for example, and those trees are not blocking, maybe they cast a shade, quite a lot of shade onto a quarter of your acre, then maybe that's not a big issue. But southwest, just remember that's where the hurricane winds come from. You do want a bit of protection from that angle, especially for your house. And as Bill Mollison once said, you can save 60% of your heating bill before you even get to the outside wall of your house. So you can use those to block the wind, especially towards southwest. But if you don't have a full acre and those trees are blocking most of the sunlight on your back garden, I would really consider trimming them, at least. Maybe cut them somewhere along so that you get more sunlight into your garden. Anyway, so let me just take a look here now, and I'm going to run the raffle now. It's not really a raffle, it's a giveaway. So it's a 50-euro voucher. And if any of you guys want to enter still, you can still do that by typing the word enter into the comments. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm just going to load this website here, and I'm going to announce the winner of today's giveaway. And we're going to do this more often, by the way. Next Thursday, we're not going to be able to have this live chat at 9 p.m. So I'm going to do it probably on the Friday, if we can, but I will announce it anyway. So if you guys want to join our email list, you can. Just go to gardensforlife.ie and scroll down. You can enter your email address there if you want to get notified. It's free to join, and we just send out a few emails per week, 2 or 3 usually. So bear with me for 1 second now. And we just send out a few emails per week, 2 or 3 usually. So bear with. Now, just 1 moment, please. I'm going to check here. Per week, 2 or 3 usually. So bear. So I'm just getting the random number generator up and running here. It takes a minute. It's a hand crank random number generator on this website here. So let me see here. And the winner is Kevin. Congratulations, Kevin. You have won a €50 voucher for our online shop. Now, Kevin, please send me an email to contact@gardensforlife.ie, and I'm going to verify that it's you. And we'll send you a voucher for €50. Congratulations. Again, this is our online shop if you want to take a look to see what we have available. And for those of you who didn't win, look, you might get one the next time. We will announce our next questions and answers session next week. I will have one, but I don't know when yet, because we have a talk lined up actually at a garden club in County Longford on the Thursday night. So it's going to clash with our live questions and answers session. And no matter, we're going to have it another day, and we're going to have another giveaway. And how exciting is that? We are also going to give away a couple of tickets for our workshops as well. And if you have any questions in the meantime for next week's questions and answers session, please email me at contact@gardensforlife.ie. And if you have any suggestions as to what to talk about. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining, and we will see you the next time. Bye-bye. Any questions that came up, I will answer next time now, next week. See you. Good luck. Bye-bye.